world of One Piece has many devil fruits, with many having interesting and otherworldly abilities, but not all devil fruits are created equally. While some fruits grant incredible abilities such as lightning control, creating earthquakes, or even becoming a literal god, others are not so incredible. The right devil fruit can turn a character from not so impressive to a force of nature. Some characters are near unstoppable with their devil fruits, but without it they are pretty unimpressive. There have been many examples of characters whose abilities have taken them to great heights. Which begs the question, how strong would these characters be without their devil fruits? As a result, I have decided to create this series called Carried, where I will look at how strong a devil fruit user is with their abilities, and then gauge how strong they would be without them. The goal of this series is to look at various devil fruit users across the series, and at the end of the video we will answer one question. Is this character carried by their devil fruit, or not? Every devil fruit user forms a fighting style around their devil fruit, but some rely on their fruits more than others. It's time to find out who is carried by their fruits, and who is not. To begin this series, I thought it would be appropriate to start with the main character, Monkey D. Luffy. Since he is the main character and has the most evidence to cover, I will look at Luffy from pre-time skip and post-time skip separately. To start, we must establish Luffy's stats from pre-time skip, and then gauge how strong he would be without his devil fruit. First, let's look at Luffy's durability. To be honest, Luffy's durability is really hard to quantify. At the beginning of the series, we were told that Luffy was rubber, and now we know he is a mythical Zoan. Both attributes play a factor in Luffy's durability, but by how much? Since Luffy is the captain of the Straw Hat crew, I think it is fair to compare him to the other members of his crew. I feel that Luffy would be equal to or above his crewmates in certain areas. Zoro, for example, is a regular human who has ridiculous durability feats. Even without his devil fruit, I think Luffy would be equal to or more durable than Zoro, just my opinion. Luffy's speed is also pretty interesting. Most of his speed comes from Gear Second, and without his devil fruit he would not be able to use it. Luffy has stated that he knows how the CP9 members use Shave, so he may be able to move at those speeds without Gear Second, but since there is no evidence of him moving at those speeds without Gear Second, I'm definitely going to have to say he loses a lot of his speed from not having a devil fruit. Obviously Luffy is going to lose out on all of his absurd range without his devil fruit. Luffy definitely takes a serious hit to his attack power. Instead of loading a punch from 50 feet away, he would have normal range. Even without a devil fruit, Luffy is not a pushover, and his hits don't tickle. Let's not forget who his grandfather is after all. He would still have above average striking power for a regular person. I would say that his attacks would be equal to or above Sanji's attacks. Now let's look at Luffy's fights pre-time skip. Assuming the fights stay the same, how does it go down? Luffy would beat all of his opponents in East Blue pretty easily. I think he could defeat Crocodile without his devil fruit, but it would be a very close fight. Luffy is still an excellent fighter, and as long as he is able to hit Crocodile, he will win. Yeah, no. We all know how this fight would go. The only reason Luffy even had a chance against NL was purely because he was rubber. Without his devil fruit, the fight is over before it begins. NL to this day still has one of the strongest devil fruits in the series. He was able to easily dismantle anyone who stood in his path, until Luffy. Luffy at this point did not know armament hockey or observation hockey, and even if he did, just about any hit from NL would end him. Without his devil fruit, Luffy is getting barbecued like everyone else. I don't think he would beat Lucci without his devil fruit. He lacks the power to break Lucci's iron body, he lacks the speed to keep up with Lucci, and the power to put Lucci down for good. He would also have a lot less durability to take hits from Lucci. Luffy was pushed to his limits with his rubber/Zoan durability helping him, and without it, I think this is a wrap. Luffy versus Moria might just be another L for Luffy. Luffy needed to be rubber to take some hits from Moria, and in the end Luffy had to use Gear Second and Third at the same time to defeat Moria. Without his devil fruit he would not have the speed or power to defeat Moria. Luffy versus Magellan is already an L for Luffy, and he does not have any real fights at Marineford. So that wraps up pre-time skip. Now it is time to answer the question, is pre-time skip Luffy carried by his devil fruit? And I would have to say, yes. His devil fruit gave him the strength, speed, and durability needed to defeat many of his opponents pre-time skip, and without his devil fruit, one of his matchups is impossible. It is undeniable that Luffy's devil fruit and his resourcefulness with it gave him the edge to win many of his fights pre-time skip. Post-time skip Luffy is another story because of one thing, hockey. Hockey changes everything for Luffy, even without a devil fruit. I would argue that Luffy would have significantly better hockey if he went into the time skip without a devil fruit. Luffy would not have to spend time training his devil fruit and creating Gear 4th in all of its various forms. He would put all of his time into training his hockey. Luffy's stats in some areas would stay mostly the same. Luffy's durability would become significantly better because of armament hockey, and he would take a lot less hits by using observation hockey. Armament hockey in general gives Luffy the ability to tank hits he could not pre-time skip. Swords, bullets, and even other devil fruit attacks would be greatly reduced by armament hockey. Luffy's speed would stay mostly the same in my opinion. We have seen regular people moving very fast before, but I don't know if Luffy would be one of those people. Gear 2nd and 4th are really Luffy's speed forms, and he doesn't have any speed feats in base for me to say he would be significantly faster without his devil fruit. If he does have those feats and I just missed them, let me know. Luffy would have an increase in range because of advanced armament and Conqueror's Haki. Nothing crazy, but still better than what he had before. Luffy would have much better attack power because of his Haki. Better armament than he did originally, advanced armament and advanced Conqueror's Haki. Advanced Conqueror's Haki in particular is a crazy buff to his attack power. Luffy punched Kaido in Gear 4th and barely did anything, and later smacked the taste out of his mouth with advanced Conqueror's Haki in base. Now let's look at Luffy's post-time skip matchups all the way up to Wano. Just a reminder, this would be Luffy after 2 years of strictly Haki training, since he would not have a Devil Fruit. Even though his Haki would be overall better in this scenario, I won't assume that he has advanced forms of Haki until the appropriate arcs, so he won't have Future Sight until he fights Katakuri, or advanced Conquerors until he fights Kaido. Hody Jones and Caesar Clown are pretty underwhelming, and I don't see Luffy having any trouble with them. They were never really meant to challenge Luffy, only to highlight how much stronger Luffy had become. Even without a Devil Fruit, Luffy would beat them pretty easily. Luffy vs Doflamingo is a bit iffy. Realistically, Doflamingo can just stay in the air and bully Luffy at range. With Doflamingo's ability to fly, he would be a very hard target for Luffy. He would need outside assistance similar to Zoro vs Pika to actually reach Doflamingo. Luffy's armament Haki was shown to be stronger than Doflamingo's when he was in Gear 4th. Without having a Devil Fruit to train, Luffy in base could have armament Haki as strong as his armament in Gear 4th. When Luffy ultimately does reach Doflamingo, he will win. Luffy vs Cracker would still be pretty difficult for Luffy. Cracker was shown to have better armament Haki than Luffy in Gear 4th, but Cracker by his own admission does not have great durability. Since Luffy would not have access to Gear 4th, he would not need Nami to buy him time throughout the fight. I think Luffy would eventually get the win, but I could see this fight going both ways. Luffy vs Katakuri is pretty tricky. I don't think Luffy would get overwhelmed by Katakuri as easily with better Haki. I think Luffy would have strong enough armament Haki to evenly clash with Katakuri. Luffy would still lack his rubber properties, and I don't think he could take a beating from Katakuri for 11 hours without it. Katakuri would still have his spear, which has insane power behind it. It is possible that Luffy could learn Future Sight faster and better than he did originally, but I don't think it would be enough. He would still lack the speed and range that Snake Man gave him to actually hit Katakuri. Overall, I don't see Luffy winning this one. Lastly, Luffy vs Kaido. This one is pretty straightforward. Even when Luffy had advanced armament and Conqueror's Haki, he still had to rely on Gear 5th to get the victory. And he still barely got the victory after Kaido fought the Scabbards, the Supernovas, Luffy, Yamato, and Luffy again. Without Gear 5th, Luffy is not winning. Period. So to answer the question, is post-time skip Luffy carried by his Devil Fruit? I would have to say, no. Haki just adds so much to Luffy's fighting capabilities even without a Devil Fruit, so I can't say he would be carried without his Devil Fruit. Luffy has been shown to be a very proficient Haki user. In a world without his Devil Fruit, Luffy would still become one of the strongest fighters in the world. Kaido fought and defeated Luffy in Gear 4th and was unimpressed by Luffy. It wasn't until Luffy showcased better Haki that Kaido even considered him to have great potential. Even after Luffy started using Gear 5th, Kaido stated how Roger was able to conquer the Grand Line with just his Haki. Just to further highlight how important Haki is for the most powerful fighters in the One Piece world. With just his Haki, Roger was able to fight on par with the hero of the Marines, Monkey D. Garp, as well as Whitebeard, a man who creates earthquakes and was stated to have the power to destroy the world. Roger has already proven that Haki is more important than Devil Fruits. Even without a Devil Fruit, I have no doubt in my mind that Luffy would still be one of the strongest characters in One Piece. Alright, so pre-time skip Luffy is being carried, but post-time skip Luffy is not. So overall, is Luffy being carried by his Devil Fruit? I would have to say, no. Luffy has some of the strongest Haki in the series, and even some of the best Haki feats. His Haki prowess alone would eventually make him one of the strongest characters in the series. Haki is just so powerful. Characters like Roger, Shanks, Mihawk, Garp, Rayleigh, and Odin all made it to the top of the verse because of their Haki prowess. So, that's the video. This is the first episode of the Carried series. There are still many Devil Fruit users out there that need to be evaluated, but those are for future videos. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think. Is Luffy carried by his Devil Fruit or not? Do you agree with my assessments? Leave a like if you enjoyed the video or dislike if you didn't, and consider subscribing for more videos like this in the future. Thanks for watching.